What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Deeper Dive presented by Stokastic and promo code CYCLE. It's MLB season, baby. Promo code CYCLE, that is CYCLE. Look at that, I can spell. It is good times, and also good times that Chris Spags knows how to hit an unmute button after 5 minutes of trying to figure out why I couldn't hear him. But this is his first show ever, so I guess it's fine. Go follow him at Chris Spags over on X. How you doing, my dude?
Excited to be here. It's a crazy slate getting the Austin Reeves news at 4:01 p.m. East Coast time. And obviously it's a March Madness day. So the tournament's a little bit smaller. I am curious to see the net effect of things because the Lakers team today, your local Lakers, Eric and my former beloved area over there, they're like the Thunder yesterday, but like the shittiest version of the Thunder, where none of the good guys are playing and the stats are all up for grabs. And they're going to be the most important team on the slate. And they don't play till 10:30 East Coast time. So it's going to be, we're going to have some fun, aren't we?
Fun is a word for it. Fun is a word for it. It's probably as much fun as Clemson fans are having right now, right? I think that they're probably akin to the same thing. I mean, first off, NCAA tournament off to a fun start until Clemson's down 19 to a team named McNeese State. Do you know where McNeese State is?
Tennessee.
I think that's where it is too. I have no idea. I just was curious. That would have been my guess, but
I think that's right. No, Louisiana. Shit. Nope. Fail.
We both lose. And it's like a Bronco thing, like somebody riding a Bronco. You shouldn't be losing to McNeese State if you're a major basketball team, but such is life. Welcome to March, everybody. It's going to be fun times. Also, in the NBA streets today, going to be fun times. I just filtered it down here. Look at this. Look at
you zooming. Look at this guy zooming around. Producer Eric on the fly.
I have my moments. Bro, these are the names that we're about to sift through. I mean, this is just absolute insanity. Anything you want to say about this slate? I mean, you kind of gave us the foreshadowing of everything. The last game of the slate, going to be a pretty important one to talk about. That's for sure, Spags.
Yeah, look, I'm crazy about Dalton Connect, which is not a sentence I would have thought I would have had this morning. As I got adjusted to like, okay, Luka's going to be out. Austin Reeves, like kind of immensely when you do this content, you think about, why do you believe the thing you believe? What do you want to tell people? I think that's hopefully what most good DFS content creators out there / prop bet content creators, whatever you want to call it. And it's like, I had this whole case in my mind for Austin Reeves and like, man, he's been a beast without Luka, without LeBron, averaging 1.55 fantasy points per minute. And then he goes away and it's like, well, you have to adjust to making the case for Dalton Connect, who, if you're on that Stokastic sim today, boys and girls, you are going to get him in pretty much every lineup. And I don't know. I think it's fun. I like having these kind of things where it's like almost an IQ test for where you are as an NBA DFS player.
I mean, it's just going to be insanity. I'm very much looking forward to Markieff Morris potentially being the guy. Like, this is just going to be insane. So let's dive in. Everybody hit that like button because I get to hang out with my friend Spags. If you get this over 400 likes, I am setting this at 400. You know who will come up from the shadows. Oh, it'll be fun for everybody but me. But here's the thing, is that you guys hit that like button for my friend Chris Spags and his form of entertainment, which has always been puppetry from my understanding.
It's true. And I think you might have some thoughts on playback. I think he'd love to do a bit about playback, guys. So just maybe a teaser there if it helps you hit the like button.
Dear sweet God. You ready to dive in, my friend?
Let's do it. Can't wait.
All right. We got the Knicks. We got the Charlotte Hornets. Right from the get-go. I mean, this is just going to be insanity here. And I will filter this down. I promise you. I will get the hang of everything here as we are going on the fly. It'll be fun times, but I'll filter it down as I'm talking about it because we've got ourselves some interesting Q tags that still exist there. Miles McBride on the back-to-back, sitting there questionable, which would open up campaign, I think, in a pretty big way, campaign in the membrane. But we go to the Knicks here. We go to team, and we can take a look at what's going on here at the DraftKings slate because we have money to spend with the Lakers, and that is shoving Karl Anthony Towns in his, infinity usage without Jalen Brunson on the floor into our face. Now, I don't know about you, but I think it's pretty easy to get to Towns. I'm going to have him in well north of the 44% of my lineups if this slate started right now. How are you feeling about him as a spend up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on the exact same page as you. I've been getting Towns, honestly, the entire year, even when Brunson was healthy. Now with Brunson out, Towns becomes basically a 1.6 fantasy point per minute guy. Didn't quite get where I wanted him to go yesterday when he's getting outscored by our pal Mamu on the Spurs. in 20 minutes of time. It's not exactly what I would have liked for my lineups, but he still looks great today. I have him at about a 52 fantasy point projection, Stokastic closer to 50. Both look great, though. Very easy to afford on the slate with him being under 10K. And now the cornucopia of value that you've opened up with the Lakers, you can get whatever you want. So 60% Towns for me, I think is a strong play. I think the big question, Eric, kind of becomes at a certain point in DFS, and it happens enough on these slates. Like I jammed 100% Giannis the other day because you could afford him with the value that was out there. Ended up losing to like Kawhi Leonard, to Jimmy Butler. That's where you start to ask the questions about a guy like Towns, where it's so easy to get to Towns, and you get there in the sim, and it's like, well, maybe another center can get there. And I think that's a good thought exercise in general for how you should be playing DFS. But it's so easy to get him. Like you have to get him a good amount and then do something different with where you're not getting him.
Oh my God. It's so hard not to get him. That's the end of the story, is like, where else do we want to spend our money today? I mean, we have other spend ups, one of which being Giannis, who's going to be infinity percent owned. And then you could potentially be losing Damian Lillard for that game because they're like, well, you're going to punt it. We'll give Dame a day off potentially. That always makes things fun. But who are some of the other beneficiaries for you on this Knicks team if you were to get Miles McBride sitting? Because again, campaign ownership right around 12.5%, no optimal number there. But once again, we have so much value from the Lakers side. They're going to play such big minutes. I would need campaign to step into a pretty large share of minutes here. Decent enough matchup, obviously, against Charlotte. Not the pace by any means, but LaMelo Ball is in. That definitely helps the pace of this game. I look at Josh Hart at 8K, and I'm curious how many people are actually going to click on an 8K Josh Hart when it's all said and done. But we got to spend money somewhere. Who else in the Knicks do you find to be prime beneficiaries?
So I'm getting Josh Hart at 21% right now, and I forgot to juke the rates here a little bit for Jalen Brunson being out, just kind of let it roll naturally. But I do like to try to reflect, if a major high usage guy's off the court, what their usual court time looks like, and obviously eyeball tests to make sure it's not too weird. Hart's always a beneficiary, though, gaining a little more of assist upside, getting a little more usage. The rebounding, obviously, when he does succeed in rebounding, he pulls from Towns a little bit there. But I think playing one of those two guys, and to me, if you're not playing Towns, I think taking a more serious look at Hart, I think is probably the way, because when Hart hits that 60 fantasy point upside, when he gets a triple-double, it is often at the expense of Towns, because the shots that are created not usually going Towns' way. And the rebounds, too, rip directly from Towns. But I'm with you on campaign. If you get McBride out, I think he would look like a much stronger play. As it is, I still have him as like a little bit over a 6x value. It's just the minute's not high enough with Stokastic projecting him for under 17. But if you get McBride out, like they're probably going, you're not going to get 100% campaign, but I think you'll still get a better shot of him playing more minutes than a Landry Shamet, or, really don't have anybody else they want to play minutes. I guess maybe they could dust off Delon Wright if they needed the defense, but why would you against Charlotte? So I think campaign would be a strong play here. And I'm with you that I don't know if he's quite like some of the Lakers guys, but he'd be close to it if you get McBride out. With McBride in, he's like kind of a lesser version of the Lakers value.
Yeah, much lesser, I think. You definitely the McBride piece to go your way. And then Landry Shamet, you brought him up here as well. I do think looking at FanDuel, where you can only play 4 Lakers, is going to be a very interesting site to kind of break down. We do have Cat at center, 9,700 over there. OG Anunoby, 7,200. That's a spicy meatball, but everybody kind of knows mid-teens ownership. I think I'm just fine taking shots on these guys. And obviously, if you get that 3,800 campaign, you can play them alongside a Shake Milton on FanDuel. You can play them alongside whomever else, Jordan Goodwin, all of these other pieces where guard is going to be very, very cost opportunity. Like the opportunity cost is going to be ridiculous. So no doubt about it. But anything that on FanDuel looks a little bit different to you, 6,200 Miles McBride, no thank you.
Yeah, I would say the Shamet thing, I think, is really it for me. For the most part, I tend to be aligned in general with my projections where there's not a huge differential for me. But I would say, yeah, I think that's the one value play that might be different. But Towns, to me, always a center option on FanDuel, going all the way to pay up. And I'm never really a big Bridges guy. I know OddsShopper today, I don't know if it's still the case. But Bridges unders on assists, a little bit high, the kind of the lines there. I'm always low on Bridges on slates. He never gains anything, no matter who's off the court. I know he occasionally spikes an upside, and people like him for that. And he's not technically a bad true shooter or anything. But I really have a hard time playing Bridges, whether it's on DraftKings or FanDuel. I just don't. He's never the guy for me.
Good reminder here for me as well, because I have over on the playback stream, which you can jump into over in the chat, playback stream rocking. It has everything updating in real time. As you brought up there before, there are definitely some positive EV plays. I have the auto refresh as well. So if you're looking to get some free bets in for today, the update has been just absolutely incredible at Portfolio EV. Just being able to get the quantity of bets down with historical ROIs, we put our work directly in front of you from the tool. I mean, we do have an overpopping there. Keegan Murray, look at that. Over 6.5 rebounds over on FanDuel for all you over seekers over on Portfolio EV. We're going to get more of those overs leaking into the system. So if you're insane in the membrane, campaign in the membrane, maybe today as well, you have an opportunity there. That was maybe a little bit of a stretch, but yeah, I'm funny sometimes. Anyway, check out Portfolio EV over on the playback stream as we are doing this on YouTube. But let's jump over to the Charlotte side of things, because now they're charlatans and they really don't care about winning basketball games at this point. But we do have kind of this interesting push and pull situation with Mark Williams. If we're going to get a ton of ownership coming in on Cat, which I totally understand, I don't know what I think about like a Mark Williams in any slate going forward. He's 8,400. I feel like he's capped at high 20s minutes. He absolutely floored last time out, and that felt good to have 0% of that. Talk through why I thought he was maybe the most overowned play on the slate. I think he was right around 27, 28% in the main. Felt good to have that fail, but it's really just, do we feel like LaMelo Ball or Miles Bridges alongside these guys? Because these tags are egregious, considering one, a slower pace matchup here against the Knicks, and two, look at the minutes projection that we have on these guys. 32 for Ball, 33 for Bridges, 26 for Mark Williams. This is troublesome, Spags.
Yeah, I mean, I don't love the way the projections look right now. I've been a Bridges, and he's like one of the worst guys to say this phrasing for, but I've been a Miles Bridges defender at times in terms of his DFS play.
Cut the stream. Cut the stream. Oh my God.
No, like he's been a good DFS play. I'm not defending his off-court actions or his rap music, which is also pretty bad. But I do think he's been a really strong play. And lately in particular, getting there with LaMelo in, like actually in the lineup has been really impressive, because his bigger outlier days have been LaMelo out, vacating that usage, all that opportunity, he takes over. Now he's doing it with LaMelo out there. And he's been doing it in large part, before this, at least this rest game that he got recently, getting into, mid 30s minutes, high 30s minutes in a lot of spots. If he's not going to get there and the data team has him at 33 minutes right now, I'd be a little bit concerned about that, because he really needs every possible minute of 36, 37, 38 to get where he needs to go. And as Eric mentioned, a down pace match versus the Knicks, not a great total for Charlotte at 107.3. That's basically where they've been the entire year. So does kind of look ugly. So these guys really not plays to me. I think if you get Diabate out, I guess that would open up the potential for a Nurkic a little bit more. But even that, like, I'm not sure that I actually would buy in that, with Mark Williams still taking more than enough minutes away, even if he's not guaranteed, substantial run like last game.
Can you defend anything over on FanDuel whatsoever? You absolute heathen. I can't believe. I mean, those are the only three guys I think to talk about whatsoever. I mean, we don't need a punt. They're all in, but they're not going to play enough minutes to be crazy viable unless they hit massive ceilings. I think for me, it's basically Bridges because of positionality on FanDuel, power forward, small forward. And I really don't want to deal with Ball or Williams on this slate.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as you. I mean, LaMelo's ceiling is certainly high enough on FanDuel, with him being, still a 40-point projection on there. You're not really in the value metrics you want to see, but the ceiling could be there. If he does get some of those valuable stocks, maybe there's a shot there. But yeah, really, these guys, not great values, not fit in the traditional metrics. And yeah, and the centers you don't want to play, because Williams' minutes aren't there, and Nurkic you definitely don't want to play as a center on FanDuel. So yeah, nothing really to love.
Just can't believe you as a person in the world sometimes.
I just thought it was funny phrasing to say Miles Bridges.
You knew it before you said it. That was the hilarious part, is you're like, all right, I'm going to preface this before I actually say these words.
Yeah. For DFS.
Otherwise, it's clip life. I'll just clip the 2 seconds and send it to all future employers.
Oh, where you go? Yeah, I'm my employer at this point. I can only get canceled from this at this point.
You're going to cancel yourself in your own household. I've done that before with my wife. Anyway, we've got ourselves a fun next one where we have Brooklyn and Indy, and there's always news to pay attention to with these the Indiana side here lately. That's for sure. A questionable Tyrese Haliburton, but 8.5-point dogs are the Brooklyn Nets here. We're going to start on that side as I start figuring out exactly what I am doing here. There we are. Let's begin with D'Angelo Russell here, 6,400, 16.5% ownership. Not like a crazy minutes projection either, but 1.13. It's an up-tempo spot against Indy. I would really strongly prefer to have Tyrese Haliburton in just for the game environment. It's not like there's minutes upside for him anyway, and we have seen multiple times how much different the offensive rating is the defensive rating is, and the pace is for the Indiana Pacers with and without Tyrese Haliburton off the floor, you can go to NBA.com and go check out all those lovely things for yourself with the on-offs tool, which is a lot of fun to play around with. I don't know how much D'Angelo Russell I'll end up when it's all said and done because I got 12% in my first run, but there is so much news left to go. I can't imagine that I want to be like getting some kind of an influx of him. Keon Johnson is the guy that's really standing out to me. Shooting guard, small forward, that right there is the name of the game for me. At least multi-positionality. I don't have to use up a point guard spot, which might end up being more valuable based on the evening window with Kevin Porter Jr. potential. Hell, even Damian Lillard, if he ends up playing, I feel like is going to be somebody to at least get raw points for. How did the Brooklyn Nets look to you on DraftKings?
Also, Keon Johnson, point guard, shooting guard on DraftKings.
Oh, sorry. Shooting guard, small forward. I was still on the FanDuel side. And as we're talking about it, Tyrese Haliburton out, so we'll be able to cover that.
Okay.
I mean, that's so opportune. I mean, NBA doing us favors.
For once. So the Brooklyn side, I'm a little more into Russell. I'm a little more into Russell than you are on the Brooklyn side, getting him at 43% of my lineups right now. Fields at 39. I mean, the main thing that stands out to me is the assist rate just becomes a lot better from the lack of guys out there. Court time without having Cam Johnson, without having Cam Thomas, Ben Simmons, Dennis Schroeder, all of the guys that have been gone. He's been put up a 42% assist rate, a little bit higher than that, 29% usage rate, and this is in 5 to 25 possessions. So close to the range we want to be to have that stabilize as a rate. 1.36 fantasy points per minute. So he's been really good. Lately, the minutes from him as well. He missed one game within the last 4, but 3 out of the last 4 games has played 27 minutes, 28 minutes. So like it's getting more secure. It is still the Nets. Like they certainly are not really playing for anything. There's not a reason to trust it. But I do think I want to be with the field on D'Angelo Russell today because it's a good opportunity for him. You've now taken everybody who gets real usage. And if he fails, or like if that ownership doesn't pay off, you're looking at a pretty obvious way. You go Trendon Watford's way a little bit more, Jalen Wilson's way a little bit more, Keon Johnson, I think more on FanDuel. But I think there's sort of an obvious pathway where if your core part of Russell doesn't work out, you know what to play instead because, you know, kind of identify how Russell might fail besides just Brooklyn being terrible. So I like Russell today. I like the matchup as well. And frankly, having Haliburton out, probably a little bit worse for the defense, but I think Russell can still do more than enough there.
Who do you think starts here? Because we've seen some weird rotations lately. Did you see how many minutes we got from Jalen Wilson last game?
Not offhand. I don't recall.
7.
Oh, okay.
Out of the middle of nowhere. Like he was playing 24, 30 minutes. He played 7 minutes last game. Are we starting to get into that like ridiculous Toronto territory here with Brooklyn where tanking is the name of the game and all that really matters whatsoever?
Well, I think they'd play more Jalen Wilson if that were the case.
Yeah, it's true. That's probably a good point.
Because he played, I'm looking at the popcorn machine now. So he and Keon Johnson, like he basically took minutes away from Keon Johnson, then just didn't take him away in the second half because they went to Watford and Clowney instead. I think having Cam Johnson out makes it a little bit easier for Wilson to see the floor, but I think Watford for me, like as a secondary ball handler, like he's really the one who I think would inhibit Wilson from getting where he needs to go because I just don't know what Wilson's role in the team is like with kind of the guys they have available now.
I agree. I mean, Keon Johnson generally playing backup point guard to D'Angelo Russell. And then when D'Angelo Russell's out on these back-to-backs, which has been plentiful, we get the Keon Johnson point guard. Zaire Williams does a little bit of ball handling, but not really. It's just an interesting team. I just wanted to throw the Jalen Wilson thing out there because we haven't projected for 24 minutes. He played 7 last game, and I'm just so nervous that something happens with this guy right here. There's a Jalen Wilson piece where if this 24 minutes becomes 7 or, you know, even just 10, who gets the next 14? Like who benefits the most in this situation? And I mean, that's where the Zaire Williams thing at least gets interesting to me. He was the guy I meant, shooting guard, small forward, that I thought was pretty darn interesting on the DraftKings slate. Keon Johnson, obviously different positionality on the other side. So there's that. Noah Clowney already for 27 minutes. 0.84 fantasy point per minute guy. Probably not going to go crazy there. But Watford would be the guy that if he saw more minutes for whatever reason, and they just kind of mixed him in a little bit more alongside, you know, Claxton, alongside Sharp, played him at the 4, played him at the 3. Like Trendon Watford is a fantasy dude that at 3-4%, I don't know. I'm just theoreticizing how I would move Jalen Wilson's minutes around because those are very, very volatile, obviously, Swags.
Yeah, and I would think, too, that Maxwell Lewis's minutes being up is probably not great for Jalen Wilson, too. Though he didn't, like, take minutes away from Wilson or anything last game, but I think that's just another body who's now getting about 19-20 a game or 19-20 last game. And Stokastic does have him for around that range today, but yeah, it's a little bit muddier. I mean, the Nets, any of these teams that don't really play for anything, the rotations are muddy, and the Nets have never been the team playing guys into the high 30s anyways. So you have to take risk. That's why none of these guys to me should be like 100% plays. Not that they would be on the slate, but like, don't fall in love with any one net because they all kind of can be the guy and give it slate. Besides Russell being kind of the top of the food chain.
Yeah, Russell definitely still top of the food chain. Same thing on FanDuel where he's pulling the most ownership by far. Nobody else over 10%. And then, of course, well, let's refresh this because we might as well, as we jump over to the indie side, see, look at this. We in the top right corner. I'm always checking the projections last updated. We don't have the update in here yet, but I think we can at least start talking about what it looks like because, well, he's been out the last 2 games and nothing has really changed here this time around. We head to Indy. It's Tyrese Haliburton out. So everything you're looking at here, this ownership is going to go away. And Aaron Nesmith, who ends up winning people tournaments last time around, he's got that dog in him. Canada's finest, defender extraordinaire, shooting guard, small forward. I do think this hurts the game environment a little bit, just having Tyrese Haliburton out. Just talked about that for the Russell side of things, but it definitely benefits Pascal Siakam. It definitely is going to benefit Aaron Nesmith. It's definitely going to benefit TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin, although their prices are pretty cost prohibitive to some extent. I will say Miles Turner is kind of the weird one where his usage doesn't really change with Haliburton on or off the floor, which is a little surprising to me. But just as we're waiting for this update to come in, what do you like the most from Indy with Tyrese Haliburton out?
This is actually one I wrote for DK Network today, so I'm primed the Haliburton Q-Tech game today. Yeah,
fancy. Now you're looking pretty good in the self-employed department.
But for Haliburton, the issue for him, and I actually would push back on the Siakam being better thing because that was in my mind the big issue last year was Siakam being in there when they traded for him. It kind of knocked Haliburton's rates down. Nobody really caught up in it. Haliburton would spike occasionally enough that people didn't really grasp it. But now this year, Haliburton being off the court, Siakam actually goes down to 23% usage. The rebound rate's been down a little bit, and it could just be run bad, but it's a big enough sample size that I think it's noteworthy. 17% assist rate, so he gains about point the assist upside there, but not enough. He goes to a 1.14 fantasy point per minute guy. He's at 1.13. The big winner to me is Andrew Nembhard, and if you got a situation like 2 games ago where Nembhard got himself suspended or kicked out of the game, rather ejected, going against Gobert, like then it's going to be McConnell. So I think those guys are really your biggest winners. Mathurin goes up to in usage, goes up in assist upside. He's another guy I think benefits, but I really like Siakam's ceiling is certainly higher. And I think really that's the case for all the remaining Pacers because you're just vacating 70 Haliburton possessions. But Nembhard's been filling in well for a while now, and nobody ever wants to play him. And he doesn't project like a demon or anything, but at 5,400 or whatever, like I think he's a strong play again for him as just the guy who does get all the minutes when Haliburton's gone.
It's hard not to like him to some extent. I think people saw the ceiling last time around. I'm very curious to see what his ownership ends up popping up with once we get the update in, because it's going to be different. The Pascal Siakam one, I still like him probably a little bit more than you, but Brooklyn is second slowest team in the NBA at the moment. It's been the slowest over the last 2 months, and they just do things differently. I think they've been playing decent basketball for what it's worth for like what this roster is. So shout out Brooklyn for finding ways to like be competitive, if nothing else, like even against the Celtics the other day, looking much more competitive than anybody expected. But we do have some interesting, I won't say like crazy contrarian pieces, because Aaron Nesmith, I think his ownership is definitely about to come up. Anybody here like between Mathurin or Nesmith, who, we assume is going to continue to start here for them, do you like any of them a lot more here? Because their fantasy rates, like nothing's crazy with Nesmith, but this is definitely going to come up in the update.
Yeah, I think Nesmith will look a little bit better. Definitely see him as being above in terms of fantasy points per minute. Again, I pulled the rates here for Indiana, and it seems like Nesmith putting about 0.91 fantasy points per minute. He's close to that mid-8s range normally. He's just weirdly, his true shooting has been insane without Haliburton, which seems like that's got to fall. But 70% true shooting for Nesmith, court time without Haliburton, and that's in 600 possessions. So a pretty stable amount of time there, but he just goes lights out. At a certain point, he probably won't do that well. But I think Nesmith looks okay. Mathurin, as I mentioned, getting a little bit more usage, and he's just a 55% true shooter than Haliburton, so he's around where he normally is. I think he looks good as well. Certainly has the opportunity to close more, or you close more confidently, and also be able to actually take possessions away. So yeah, like I think really you can make the case for different Pacers here, just because Haliburton is such a big pull there. I just would say Siakam to me, I don't love the situation for him because all these guys gain a little bit more than they normally do, including your Neesmiths. And that's surprising to see. I think that it is the way that it's been, at least over that sample size.
Man, we have so many Brooklyn pieces popping over on Portfolio EV. Once again, that is going live here. It is updating in real time for you as you're looking at playback right now. We've got 2 games down already, but I'm just looking through some of these top bets. And I mean, Nicholas Claxton under 8.5 rebounds available at DraftKings and Onyx Odds. So that's over 44 states that have access to that play, including California, including Texas, including a lot of different spots. That has definitely been a beautiful thing, including, I mean, between sweepstakes books, between everything else, there's so many updates coming in here for Portfolio EV. We just got version 2 live for the people. I want you guys to all check it out, and you can do so 7 days with a free trial. That is at the link below. 7 days. If you've never tried out Portfolio EV, now is the time. Not tomorrow, not 2 days from now. Hopefully you took advantage of the dance promo where you could have locked in 68% for that first month, but 7-day free trial is always going on. Go to the link below, sign up for it now. You use it in conjunction with your DFS play, because that is how you're going to build and sustain a bankroll. And you don't believe me? You don't believe me? Check out our friend Greg Ehrenberg. I mean, this is his picket through the first 16 days of March. Recorded. Throw it out.
A lot of bets, man. that's crazy volume, but it's so easy to get it down with OddsShopper. Like, I was playing with it today, and just the refresh time now is so remarkably fast. Like, you're talking a split second, which you need to have some of those bets than the books that do pull quickly. But yeah, Greg, the testament for it, and the fact he's been able to get down 4,000 bets in 22 days, I think he would have to have a team of assistants who have done that without a tool like OddsShopper before.
Also, he's limited at every book on here.
Right.
Like every single one, not every single market, because obviously if there's more liquidity in something like a spread or a money line in the college basketball streets, you can damn sure get more money down on that. Books are going to entertain that even from a sharp better, but there is no question that this is something that can really, I mean, it is compounding returns for you as you put your bankroll back in. I mean, this is just a testament to what the tool is doing. And I wanted to share that with everybody because I find it to not just be impressive that you could get down nearly 4,000 bets or over 4,000 bets. Actually, check out the math, carry the 1. Nope, just short of 4,000 bets in 16 days of March. But holy shit, it is an incredible tool. It is so awesome. And also available to people in California, in Texas, and all of these different spots. And if you have Onyx Odds, if you have other things, other sites that you might be utilizing, I guarantee you OddsShopper Portfolio EV can help you. So once again, 7-day free trial. Please, I urge you, check it out today. Stop guessing, start winning.
Wait, question for you, Eric. Are you a Pokemon guy at all?
Yes.
Like when you were a kid? What's the evolved version of Onyx? What do you think?
I can't remember, but I do have Onyx as me. I'm Ash and I catch Onyx because
You have a graphic of that?
Oh, yes, I do. I'll find it.
I did not know that. Steelix apparently is the evolved Onyx, which is not that great. But I looked it up.
I don't know anything out of the original 151. So, like, if it's not,
well, I think Steelix is in the 151 because I think Onyx was. I believe so. I don't know. I'm not a Pokemon expert by any stretch, but
Steelix, Dave Duran, he knew.
They got it. They got their little trivia. Esoteric thing to know, but shout out Dave and John Williams in the chat immediately knowing that one.
I mean, I'm so proud of you guys.
It's impressive. It's a level of autism that I didn't have.
Charizard will always be the best goat. No, Blastoise. I was a Blastoise guy. I was a Blastoise stan. I was a Mewtwo stan. There were the guys that you took to battle. Like you could use Fisher with who was the evolved of Magikarp? What was his name?
Oh,
Gyarados.
Yes. Oh, that's right. Yeah. The big snake guy.
Oh my God. See now, okay, I'm a bigger Pokemon nerd than I probably led on to based on this.
Now I'm basic. I'm like Pikachu. Like I think Pikachu's adorable. The episode when I was a kid of like Pikachu Island, the dream scenario. Besides all the electricity, like you'd absolutely die in that situation if you got shocked as often as Ash did. Your heart would have arrhythmia. But man, what a cute character though. Like dream, adorable character.
You and Miles Bridges can go off to Pokemon Island and live your lives.
Pikachu. What a trio. Me, that's the Ash and Misty and Brock. It's me, Miles Bridges, and Pikachu.
I think I'd probably use Miles Bridges in a fight. Anyway, Toronto, that is up next here for everybody. Toronto 14.5-point dogs taking on Golden State. Hit that like button once again, because I would love to hear Pokemon Lindquist from Puppet Lindquist as well. dear sweet God, what is my life anyway? Let's cover the injury report here first off, because that's important. You got pretty much everybody off of it this time around, outside of Grady Dick, who continues to be out, and RJ Barrett, who is resting. Emmanuel quickly going to be in. Agbaji going to be in. Scotty Barnes going to be in. Jonathan Mogbo most likely going to continue starting, but based on what we've seen recently, like random Castleton over Orlando Robinson and trying to limit minutes, and Pirtle not closing, and then Barnes not closing, Toronto's doing a really good job of tanking. I think the 76ers could take some notes and probably figure it out a little bit more. But let's start with this, because it's a team not pulling a ton of ownership, but we got to talk about him. I like Emmanuel quickly exponentially more than I like taking shots on D'Angelo Russell, just because of what time this game starts. Now, obviously, if D'Lo puts up a ceiling against Indy, it is what it is, but right around the same price tag, just give me the evening window. All of these 3 games we're about to talk about, 10 p.m. Eastern time or later. How are you feeling about quickly right from the get-go?
Yeah, I get what you're saying about that. I do think Quickly looks somewhat similar to Russell, and I think he'd be an interesting tournament pivot and keep the flexibility like Eric talked about. And Eric, one of the earliest preachers of late swap to, almost annoying levels, but to make sure that people actually were doing it. And now it's just an expected thing you have to do. But like keeping that flexibility has been a priority for me, in particular, like the back half of this NBA season, because that's really your edge, just like paying attention, doing what people don't want to do, and also knowing how to react when guys are getting ruled out or they have a shot to get ruled out. But Quickly, I think the risk is that, his minutes are going to be close to Russell, but it's like Toronto is just weird, and they can cut you at 24 and a half, cut you at 25, and you don't even get that extra 3 minutes that Russell seems somewhat locked into lately. That would spook me a little bit. So right now I'm getting 10% Quickly. I'm okay with it. He's a great producer without Grady Dick, without Barrett on the court. I'd have him for 1.25 fantasy points a minute tonight, which is very close to Barnes at 1.35. And relative to the price tags, like Quickly you can absorb. Barnes, I don't think you can unless he goes full Mamu mode and goes for a shitload in like 20 minutes. But I think Quickly is okay. I prefer Russell, but I get what you're saying for the flexibility, and maybe, cut your Russell down a little bit, give a little bit to Quickly. I think that'd be logical.
27, 26, 24, 28, 31 minutes. That is Scotty Barnes the last 5. It's so hard to project him for over 28 minutes. Like, I think we pretty much are just putting him directly where we should. He's 8,500. Quickly's out there. Pirtle's out there. He just has to blow 1.23 out of the water. Like, it has to stay. It doesn't even matter if it stays competitive. Like, that's the other problem, is that like with some of these tanking teams that have just like, it's reckless abandon, throw all caution to the wind kind of a thing. They're just not caring. You had a competitive 2-point game in Portland with like 3 minutes left, and they bench Scotty Barnes. That doesn't happen unless you are trying to do one thing, and that is one, tank. Done. End of story.
Yeah, it seems like they and Philly both are just happy to let Chicago get the play-in spot. And for Philly, you get it. For Toronto, I don't get it. I know they want to add one more asset, and then maybe you ship Barrett off in the offseason, but it's really odd. And like Toronto's, like all the teams getting fined, Toronto should get fined as much as anybody, because what they're doing is like the biggest affront to the gambling side, which they should also care about more. But like they can win these games and they just don't try, and sometimes actively pull guys like Eric mentioned. It's shitty.
And the NBA wants to go after Oklahoma City, where the first game that NBA missed all season was that Friday against Portland, and they won anyway, resting everybody.
And we're so fun. Like, that was a really fun Thunder team. Like, I enjoy watching Wiggins and Jalen Williams. Obviously, you crushed DFS late yesterday. Like, they're a fun backup team too. And no, you got to find them. But Toronto, he makes it so you can't even watch a game and enjoy it, or even have the slightest bit of action on it with any confidence. Then we have to just kind of absorb, I guess. It's weird.
Yeah, threw a nice flip bomb out there for Jalen Williams, over 23.5 PRA. Once it became pretty known that he was not going to play, it just, you start to read the tea leaves as the day goes on. It's like, shit, Isaiah Hartenstein not out on the court. It became pretty straightforward that it's like, all right, this is a full-on rest situation. Kind of weird to see Chet Holmgren out there. He checked him back in up 30 in that fourth quarter. That was kind of an interesting choice, but I suppose salvage some lineups for some people.
He still only played 19 minutes too. That was a weird split. And I know some people were mad about Caruso not playing at all, but it's like, they don't seem to want to play Caruso as much, maybe because they're saving him for the playoffs, which I would assume is the assumption. But frankly, the young guys at this point might be better than Caruso, at least as on the offensive side. And I think it's close on the defensive side.
I mean, have you ever seen this low of ownership on a team on a 5-game slate?
No, I mean, not very often, but they deserve it. They crappy total and not a trustworthy team. So yeah, that's what you get for Toronto.
Absolutely egregious. Absolutely egregious. But anywho, we got Golden State on the other side. At least we have some guys that we can spend some salary on and know that they're trying to win the basketball game. I kind of enjoy that from time to time in my DFS lineups. That's for sure. Let's take a look at them over here in the old data hub. And we just got the projections and ownership update there a little less than 10 minutes ago to kind of reinforce everything that just went down with Tyrese Haliburton getting ruled out. I might revisit that here at the end of the program, or of course, Buy Before Lock can cover that. But now we can spend a little bit of money if we want to. Draymond Green actually pulling the most ownership. Steph Curry, 9,200. Jimmy Butler, 8,200. Kuminga, back in our lives. He is starting to trim everybody, like a little bit off the top of everybody. That's a bit of a problem for me. I think Brandon Pajemski's a little bit undervalued if he comes out and they say that, hey, 28, 30 minutes. But, I mean, for me, this is just more lineup filler, Spags.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Steph Curry on this kind of slate, and I actually am trying to pull in everything right now to see, but I'm not going to get ownership in, so whatever. Steph Curry, like being under 6% owned, under 10% owned on this kind of slate versus a Toronto team that's not trying. Him having not on a back-to-back, like we're kind of full health here as much as we can be. Nice total as well with them at 119.8, like the second highest total in the slate, at least as before the show. So I would say for Steph Curry, like I think it's kind of a nice spot to play him in. And your issue is like they're full health. You have teams that are not even close to full health / are going to be missing a ton of starters today, or at least one key starter for a team like Indiana. So like it's going to be harder to justify going to Curry, but I do think he's worth maybe getting a 10% of here because this kind of spot, you're going against a team that is defensively not the greatest anyway, but also going to be, with guys coming out, going to the bench guys like Steph Curry versus, I don't know, Colin Castleton in in the screen game is not going to be the easiest thing for Colin Castleton to handle as a backup. Like they just don't have dudes that are good. Jamison Battle is not a good defender. These guys are playing meaningful minutes, and I don't know. There's an upside for Steph, even though it's not captured by the projection or anything close to it.
It's hilarious to me. I feel like every time I watch a bad team play Golden State, they go under Steph Curry screens. Like they go under them. Like, what are you actually doing? Have you watched basketball for 20 years? Like, don't go under screens against Steph Curry. It's just insane to watch. But Scotty Barnes will actually be all right out there. They'll probably do a lot of things to try to get Scotty Barnes onto him. But then it's just going to be cardio. You're going to be running in circles. You know what you're dealing with as a defensive player when you're going up against Steph. But whether it's Castleton or whomever else at center, stop going under screens. I just want to scream at the TV every single time. Just that's my PSA for the day.
Steph's only hit 4,000 threes in his career, so you don't know. He could,
Jesus. You know who else hits threes? Quentin Post, 4,200 center. We have 21 minutes, but this is so highly volatile. Like we saw Guy Santos mixed in the other day, purely because, back-to-back, Quentin Post his ankle. We didn't know what was going to happen with that. Looney, I was very, very happy that I ended up not being able to fire him up. I guess maybe I'm not, because if Quentin Post was just out, those minutes would have been that direction. But overall, I just look at Golden State as lineup filler. I think there's an upside there for somebody. I think the minutes also have a right tail to them where that doesn't really exist on the Toronto side, where if anybody's playing well, get ready to get ripped off the floor.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to look at it. And Post has been one of those players where the upside's clearly there. Him being just shy of a 1.1 fantasy point per minute producer, I'd have him at 1.12 today, accounting for, the matchup and all that. I think he's a strong play. And frankly, I think too, he works in the slate because the value for the Lakers is not really with the big men. They have enough big men. They're not likely going to play enough minutes, at least like true centers on the DraftKings slate. Post is, a center who's a value pay down. He does keep a little bit of later flexibility for you. So I think Post is a strong play here. I'm just not crazy about him getting him only 7% of lineups, but the field's at 1. So 7x in the field. When you say it like that, it's like, man, I'm 7x in the field on Post. Really big stand.
Man, are you ready to take stands in the baseball streets? Are you going to be playing some MLB DFS this season, Spags?
Yeah, I think I'm going to start doing MLB on my Splash Play NBA channel. So if you want to get in there, what I'm probably going to do is not do it during this time period because I think I'm going to be doing some best ball drafts for NFL at the 4:00 window, or but I'll be doing it a little bit earlier and trying to capture those random afternoon space on MLB. But how could you not play MLB with the tools that we have, the sim stuff, like the Stokastic Sims, and going back even before the Sims, Stokastic's data team has always crushed in MLB. So how could you not be aboard a little bit?
Boom, tough acting. It looks like this guy's bunting. He also looks like he's going backwards. But promo code Cycle is on your screen.
What an ad.
Just a make-believe person. Cycle's in the background. Promo code cycle, guys. $1 at the link below. $1 if you guys want to sign up, get access to any MLB package through April 3rd for $1. Packages will renew on April 4th, but you're gonna have a nice headway there. Again, sign up for $1. Would love to see you guys there. Again, just sign up now. Have them ready to rock for the tools as we get shows rocking for next Thursday, 1 week from today. Promo code cycle with this terrible. First off, don't bunt. Second off, don't bunt holding the bat like this. And third off, don't ever have me make graphics. Those are the things that we've learned. So promo code cycle.
Counts. Graphic design. Put it on the resume.
Still counts. I just made a graphic. All right, let's do it. We got next up we got two big question marks coming up here. One on Lillard in the next game, and then all the starting lineups and all of our lineup exposure. But 6.5 point dogs are the Chicago Bulls taking on the Sacramento Kings. And Josh Giddey, how do you feel about this? Because I have no clue what they end up doing here in this spot and whether they end up resting him or not. It is right ankle sprain injury management on the injury report. So take that for what you will, Spags. Do you have a lean on Josh Giddey?
I wouldn't say I have a strong lean on him because
are you a defender of Josh Giddey?
Yeah, I have been a defender of Josh Giddey in the past for DFS as well. I would say for him, he's been a great player. When you take Levine off the court, you take DeSumo off the court, you take Lonzo Ball off the court, he basically becomes, about a 1.4-ish fantasy point per guy, starts to rebound more as well. And he's been kind of quietly, I think, knocking Vooch down the pecking order a little bit. The issue is, with this being back-to-back thing, they were going to say he's going to play one of the games. I don't know why that would suddenly change. So I'm kind of expecting a last-minute rule out here, but if he goes, I think it looks pretty good, and the matchup itself looks pretty good. And Chicago's team total, I think, leaves a little bit to be desired, under their season-long average at 113.8 implied points. But Giddey's price tag works well, point guard, small forward. And the thing, too, is you have enough money to spend where if you're not paying up for Giannis in particular, you're just going to get Giddey in those lineups where you're not going to have Giannis a good amount.
If he ends up out, everything changes on your screen. Team goes from being pretty irrelevant to then Vooch becomes priority. That's definitely the way it works. Cat is going to get utilized in some lineups early, but with Giannis power forward eligibility, I think it's pretty darn easy to be able to play those two together along with Giannis and fill it in with a lot of Lakers and not have it be a big issue. Vooch minutes have been a little bit less consistent. I mean, we've seen Zach Collins over sliding into OddsShopper from time to time. Yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, was the first time that I saw a bunch of Zach Collins unders, as we're starting to see a couple more minutes from time to time leaking in for one Nikola Vucevic, but 31, 32 minutes, there's not really upside beyond it. Another one of those teams where you can just basically set a hard cap unless there's overtime on all of the studs, and that becomes problematic long-term if they're going to be popular. But if you have Giddey out, this fantasy point per minute rate goes to 1.3 and becomes pretty unavoidable, Spags. What else would you get to from Chicago? Because, this Kobe White price tag is just not palatable unless you get Giddey out.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Kobe White, I think, would become more appealing, but I really would have a hard time playing him right now at 8,200. I think point guard, shooting guard, not bad, but I see why I'm getting more Giddey. I'm getting Giddey at 13% right now. Getting Kobe White, who I've projected about 3 fantasy points lower, getting him in 1% of my lineup. So Giddey currently a legit play. If you get Giddey out, I would get to White. Vucevic, I just I'm not the biggest fan of in the current configuration with Giddey in the projection set. He's only averaged 1.05 fantasy points a minute in court time without DeSumo, without Levine, without Lonzo. So basically your 2 legit point guards and your one guy who has had kind of an established rapport for a few years. And it's on 56% true shooting for Vooch. So it's not like he's shooting that terribly either. But he just kind of recedes to the background, got close a couple games ago, I believe it was, where he shot 3 for 12. And if he did shoot 6 for 12, he would have at least hit his projection mark. But I just don't like what I've seen from Vooch. I don't know if it's age or lack of motivation for a Chicago team that is currently in the play-in, I believe. It's weird right now for Chicago, and I don't trust Vooch currently, but getting him 15% with Giddey in, and I probably would get a little bit more if Giddey were out.
Chicago's in basketball purgatory. There's nowhere for them to go. They hitched their wagon to the wrong wagons. I don't know another way to say it. It's just kind of a bummer. They went out, their acquisition this year was Josh Giddey. And if he's not wearing an Australian uniform, he's not very effective. It's kind of frustrating to a certain extent. He's played better in the second half of the season when it didn't matter, but I think the first half of the season kind of matters more when you're trying to establish yourself. And again, they're just in basketball purgatory. It is unfortunate for Bulls fans and for a huge market in the NBA to kind of be stifled like this. But how do you feel about Trey Jones, 6,300? Because this is the guy I'm having the biggest difficulty figuring out what I want to do with. Because if you just sort by minutes here, we have Kobe White for a boatload of them. If you get Josh Giddey out, this number has to go up even fractionally. Is that enough to get Trey Jones into the conversation as somebody you'd want to leak into the lineups?
Yeah, I would get some Trey Jones for sure. I mean, the way that my projection set works is because of Giddey being out, the stats that they would accrue in a situation with their team total again get redistributed. And that's how, it's a difference between mine. So other projection sets are going to be similar. But I think just the way that would work when you lose Giddey, projects for, almost, for me, 9 boards, 7 assists, 16 or so points. Like, you take all those stats away, they have to go somewhere. And because Trey Jones contributes in a couple of those categories, I think he would look closer to playable. I don't think he'd look like a must-have play by any stretch, but he would look better. I think really the team overall getting Giddey out would look better. Herter would look a little bit better. Buzelis, I've had a hard time playing lately, but technically he gets a little more secure for him in terms of the opportunity he gets. But yeah, Chicago just not a great spot there. They're not good at fantasy. They're not good at winning games. They're not good at tanking. They're not really good at anything.
It's unfortunate. I feel bad for fans. Obviously, FanDuel, kind of the same story. Josh Giddey, only guy pulling ownership. These tags are down, though. 8K for Giddey, 7,800 for Kobe White, and Trey Jones. Well, his tag is up over on FanDuel. That's going to be less palatable. So there you go. Enjoy that. Pretty unplayable any other lineup filler, if you will, over on that side of things. But we jump over to the other side of this one, Sacramento, and Zach LaVine was out for a personal issue. We have him off the injury report here now, which ends up being a little bit diabolical because DeMar DeRozan and Malik Monk are pulling a lot of ownership next to Zach LaVine, who's pulling next to no ownership here at the moment over on DraftKings. One, do you agree with this? And two, who do you think you're going to get to the most from Sacramento?
So the guy I'm getting the most of right now is DeMar DeRozan, getting him at 27%, Fields at 18. He seems to be the biggest rate winner, goes to about 27% usage in court time without Sabonis and Fox, 25% assist rate. Obviously, some of that was pre the LaVine trade, but I think still LaVine's rates have been weirdly down without Sabonis out there. I'm not entirely sure why. I'd expect it to level out, but LaVine, noteworthy to me, a 23% usage, 13% assist rate without Sabonis, so down a good amount from his year-long numbers. And some of that could be just the Kings stuff, some of that could be adjusting to being in this roster, some of it could not be having Sabonis out there, instead having Jonas Valanciunas, who does take some possessions away, kind of facilitating the offense. And I think Valanciunas, to me, in a rate basis, looks like the big winner because he averages almost 1.3 fantasy points per minute without Sabonis. But I think DeRozan and Monk playable. LaVine probably due to play better, but the rates threw me off a little bit when looking at him. And J-Val, I think, would be in play if you felt more confident about his minutes. The issue is he could lose minutes at the 5 to Trey Lyles, and it wouldn't be shocking. So there's plays here. I don't know. There's any diabolical, we got to get him in everywhere kind of plays.
Absolutely agree. Jake LaRavia back is a little annoying because we saw 30 minutes for Trey Lyles, a couple alongside Jonas Valanciunas, but for the most part playing some backup 5 and then just played more than Jonas Valanciunas. That's kind of been the trend here lately. Sacramento going a little bit more to him, but with Jake LaRavia in there, it's so hard. And then this last game that we're going to cover, and then I know Live Before Lock is going to cover ad nauseum, that being Greg Ehrenberg and Mr. Matt Belman covering everything for you here. Jake LaRavia just kind of boxes out Trey Lyles for me to a pretty real extent. So do you have any Trey Lyles interest whatsoever? Is there a case you can make where maybe he just ends up playing more of the backup 5 than Jonas Valanciunas? Because the price tag is nice, but he pales in comparison to that Lakers spot that I was alluding to.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I didn't get him at all in the 150 set I ran before the show. And with Haliburton being out, I'm not sure if that would maybe make him come in more because the price tags can move around a little bit with my exposures. But I think Lyles is not a bad play. I think it's going to be tough to play him when you have Markieff Morris at a flat minimum projected for about, I would say for me, about 8 points higher, which feels insane, but that's just what it looks like because there's nobody available for the Lakers. But in terms of a pivot, Morris, everyone's going to be there. The sim will also tell you Morris is probably one of the better plays. But if he fails, maybe Lyles can hit, but it seems like a narrow path to me, I think.
Benny Tingman. Eric doesn't really look at chat. I always look at chat because Jorge Yakami, my guy, 50 gifted subs.
Wow.
Absolute nuke dropping in the chat. I'll give you the lotion play of the night for a second because we don't have, I don't see where to go to the nuke of the night. But anywho, we also don't have time for such things. We have very important things such as Sacramento on FanDuel, where they are a talking point. DeMar DeRozan, Malik Monk, Zach LaVine, all sub 8K, all pulling gobs of ownership. On FanDuel, much more important to really hone in on this Sacramento team. How do you feel about these amongst these three? I mean, you talked about DeRozan over on DK. FanDuel wise, who do the people really need to get to the most on Sacramento?
Yeah, I like DeRozan a lot on FanDuel today. Not really a guy's going to add a ton defensively, so it's not like he's an appreciably better play compared to DK, who's going to contribute in every category. But he's not hitting threes on DK, so he kind of comes out to be the same player to me on both sites. Malik Monk, I think, is still a better DK play, but he does look pretty good to me on FanDuel as well. Positionality for these guys as well with shooting guard, point guard for Monk, small forward, power forward for DeRozan, give you the flexibility. So I do like the spot. I do think, as a tournament pivot, LaVine going to definitely be more appealing to me on there because I think there's, the logic of the play makes more sense to me where he's not going to come up as easily for an optimizer, but the price tags align pretty well. And in particular, if LaVine were to play well and Monk were to not, I think you get really good leverage with that. But these guys are all pretty playable. J-Val, probably the least playable to me on FanDuel, but yeah, you can take your shot, I guess.
Take your shot also on Portfolio EV. One more time for the people in the back, 7-day free trial available at the link below. You want to be checking this out. I'm looking over there right now on playback where I have the auto refresh going for you this second. Tons of plays available in the NBA, in the NHL, college basketball showing up at the top here from time to time throughout the day as we get closer to some of these games tipping off. You want to be checking out Portfolio EV, and it is a 7-day free trial at the link below. Don't miss out on your opportunity to jump in. Would love to see you guys there. But of course, we've got one more game to cover, and it's the biggie, my friend Chris Spags. You ready for Milwaukee, LA, where this line has gone ballistic with the news?
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be a big one here. And I will also quickly say, I have a bit in mind for the puppet today. So if you guys hit the like button so we get to 400, so I get my bid out and feel like it's earned, I think it'd be really great to do as well. This game is crucial. Milwaukee on their side with Lillard being a Q tag as well. You need to keep flexibility in your lineup. The good news, you're going to have so many Lakers that you'll have that flexibility. So this is a late swap dream for you, Eric, because the late swap's going to come real smooth and easy for you.
Oh, yeah, real smooth and easy, just like on playback. We've got ourselves Kevin Porter Jr., who's not pulling ownership right now, but he sure would if Damian Lillard right here, 8,500, ends up out. Now, there are a couple of things. One, every single slate for, I feel like, the entire season, whenever you get tons of value, and we'll definitely have it as we cover the Lakers side, we play Giannis Antetokounmpo. You play him. He is projected for 59 fantasy points. His ownership sitting at 58%, optimal 63%. Almost 2/3 of the time that you play this slate, we're not saying that he's going to be the highest scorer. We're saying that he is going to be optimal nearly 2/3 of the time, Spags. How do you handle Giannis on a slate like this?
You mean before the Haliburton news, I was getting him in 59% of lineups, which honestly I do feel like is a good rate for your pay up option here. It's a weird slate because there's not even anybody close to him as a pay up option because we've lost Luka, we've lost LeBron, we've lost a bunch of other guys that could have theoretically been available. I think Giannis is a very strong play. I think the optimal rate is right. I do think, though, we've seen happen enough times, including the other night. I was able to get 100% Giannis because of all the value when I was just swapping around. And I was like, you know what? I'll push my chips to the middle. He projects really well. I'll take the shot. I ended up losing to Jimmy Butler teams, to Kawhi Leonard teams, because those guys put up, for Jimmy Butler, high 50 or high 40s at a similar, positionality. For Kawhi, he put up over Giannis's actual score, beat him straight up at a similar positionality. So that's the trade-off you have here. Now, who are the guys that beat Giannis? I think that's a personal question to ask yourself. There aren't a lot of them, but I think that's sort of your concern point. If Lillard is out, though, I don't know how you even worry about. That's just too high of a usage guy gone. And Giannis gains so much from not having Portis and Middleton. He gains usage, gains assists, gains rebounding. Dame's actually had less without those guys. That could flatten out, but if Dame doesn't play, it's absolutely not going to flatten out. How
do you feel about Kyle Kuzma if Dame doesn't play? Because he is the guy that I love plays like this that don't pull ownership, that are sitting 3.5%, 1.5% optimal percentage. You can't really fill something in there right now with a Golden State. Jonathan Kuminga has the identical tag, I suppose. That could be somebody that you could play, but he's also not pulling ownership. So it's not like you're swapping him over. I know we'll have all of the exposure in this game to be able to react to it, but like Kyle Kuzma specifically, I have no interest right now if you have Damon. I have all the interest in all the land in a revenge spot coming back to LA in the event that you get Dame sitting. He specifically takes the biggest hike for me, not named Kevin Porter. And I'm looking at the FanDuel side here for what it's worth. Wanted to pull that up for the people as well. Even higher optimal percentage here for Giannis. Even better situation to be able to get to some Kuzma. How you feeling about them on FanDuel?
So I do not like Kuzma in general on the Bucks, just because the fact his rates have taken a real hit. He's just not the same guy anymore. But I could see with Lillard being out, you take the shot because you're going to at that point have a ton of leverage or a ton of ownership going to Giannis, a ton of ownership going to Kevin Porter Jr. Even some other guys like Brook Lopez will pick up some. At that point, playing Kyle Kuzma does get you the leverage, and I agree the FanDuel price tag's more appealing. I just hate Kuzma as a player. I think if you get Lillard out, though, Kevin Porter Jr. to me would be pretty close to a lock button play. He looks playable as it is, only 5% of my top 150 right now. But you take those Lillard minutes out and Lillard possessions out, like he's going to look so much better. Porter Jr. I would really watch out for, and I think he would be really as much as any of the Laker guys like a must-have play. Maybe besides Dalton Connect, but he'd be like a must-have play.
Well, if you want us to break down the Lakers here and you want to see Puppet Lindquist hit that like button, it's not going to get there, I don't think. I don't think Spags is going to be somebody who just does it for the sake of doing it either. So
it's tough because the joke's not going to get. It's not going to be as funny next week when we get further away from the playback thing.
Oh no! We have so many blue wrenches also showing up. Nolan Kelly, El Negro Loco, our guy, the news god, hanging out in the chat. They all want to see Puppet Lindquist, and you're disappointing them. So hit the shit out of that like button as we talk about this Lakers team. And before we even get into the ownership, Spags. Our NBA projected starting lineups page has Jordan Goodwin, Gabe Vincent, Dalton Connect, Markieff Morris, and Jackson Hayes playing in an NBA basketball game all together on the floor to start in 2025. What the hell do we do with this team?
I think the first thing you do is you play Dalton Connect. He is in 99% of my Sim 150 on Stokastic. I have him projected a little bit higher than Stokastic. I'm for 42.9 instead of 37.3, but he's averaged 1.25 fantasy points per minute without Luka, without Reeves, without everybody. I'll save some time by not listing them all. I think he's your guy. Markieff Morris has to play minutes, you would think, at the 4 because they just don't have enough bodies there. They have enough centers. They don't have enough like 4 kind of guys. I have him for 27 fantasy points, a little bit lower than Stokastic, but he's still a 9x value at minimum salary, so I'm getting him in 89% of lineups. Shake Milton, I have more than Goodwin right now, but I need to look at the rates more. I just kind of pulled them from Wowie fast. I'm in between streams. Goodwin's been not great without all the guys, but it's small sample size stuff. Milton has been pretty good, played 28 minutes last time. Luka didn't play, but then that was a game as well where Reeves was in, so I think Milton's minutes should be good. Gabe Vincent, I'm also getting 45% of. You're getting all these guys. The one thing I'm not getting, Eric, is like the big men. Besides Morris, like I'm not getting centers, and I think it's because there's enough of them, but it feels weird to not get a big man with this much available production.
Well, just think about how much Jackson Hayes has been buoyed by the presence of Luka Doncic in that lineup. Yeah. Austin Reeves individually as well at times when they're on the floor together. Like, it's a bigger ask at 5K for him to go out and smash a slate, but I mean, the ownership's pretty low on him. We have a pretty low optimal percentage as well. I think there's definitely some volatility to the starting lineup. I don't think anybody would disagree with that portion of it. But if Markieff Morris starts, I mean, he's unavoidable to me. Him and Dalton Connect in every lineup that I've made so far. Jordan Goodwin, almost in every single lineup that I made before this show. Obviously, it didn't account for the Haliburton news, so I don't want to, misspeak on anything and just say that I'm automatically doing this or that. But the two guys I want to give a shout out to for DraftKings purposes, Shake Milton, 3,700. There's no reason that Shake Milton can't walk into more minutes. There are minutes to be had, and he's already projected for 29, pulling 45% ownership. I mean, it's not like he's unowned by any means, but the one nice thing is that if I just have a ton of Shake Milton, we can go back to Milwaukee. Kevin Porter Jr., identical price tag, identical swap, makes it easy to kind of, obviously I probably want to play a lot of both of them in some lineups, but if I want to trim some of that, I don't think I'm going to get any Kevin Porter Jr. if I just run the Sims unencumbered right now to account for that Lillard news. So how do you feel about him? And then the other guy, just to throw it out there, no, it's not Bronny James. Cam Reddish, he's basically been out of the rotation, even in some of these shorthanded spots, but we're talking Dorian Finney-Smith, Jared Vanderbilt, Rui Hachimura, Austin Reeves, LeBron James, like every wing gone. There's wing minutes, you just brought it up, to be had. I think Cam Reddish, as bad as his fantasy point per minute rate is, you take all the 3 main guys off the floor, going back to last season, at least 0.75 can get something done once in a while. But how do you feel about those two as contrarian options?
I think you can make a case for anybody here. I would say, like, in terms of the per 100 numbers, like Cam Reddish has been awful this year, averaging 9 points per 100 possessions, like 5 rebounds, 2 assists. But there's opportunity there. He's just also not been a good shooter on the year. 52% true shooting. And to me, a lot of this stuff comes down to, like, what are these guys normally doing per 100 possessions? Like, can you sort of extrapolate, like, based off of that? Your number one choice is, again, Connect to me. Number two would be Shake Milton, putting up 19 points per 100 possessions. A guy like Markieff Morris can get hot from three, puts up 13 threes per 100. So maybe that's a guy that you feel even more confidence in if you didn't already with his minutes. Bronny James puts up 11 threes. I don't think he's in play, but there's maybe some variance that could hit for him and it's the right situation here. I think the case is there for anyone, and I really wouldn't say you're wrong, but I think that it's one of the spots where you got to mix it in, get different combinations. I would just personally die on the hill of Connect in particular, Morris in particular, and then Milton, Vincent, Goodwin in that order.
371 as we headed to FanDuel, rounding out the show. Dalton Connect, nearly 100% optimal percentage, nearly 100% ownership. It won't get that high. FanDuel a little bit softer too. We've routinely seen those guys come in short of 80%. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to be firing up some Dalton Connect, Jordan Goodwin. The perceived starting lineup, it has got volatility, but just be ready to swap. That's all I can say, is that there is going to be lots of news coming out in this late window with 3 of our 5 games there. Shouldn't have an issue kind of mixing it around. Anything you want to note on FanDuel to round out the show?
No, I mean, really good value on Connect again there. $4,500 salary is even cheaper than DK. I mean, you're not getting a 3-point bonus, but I think he's an insane value. One of the better values you've had the entire year on FanDuel. Goodwin looks good with stochastic projection on FanDuel. I could live with him there more. Morris still in play, not quite minimum salary on FanDuel, but close enough at 3,600. Very much an option and probably one of your core plays there. Milton also 3,900, cheap, good. Gabe Vincent, same thing. I think those are the core guys there, and they're all getting all of those guys, I think, more evenly seems right on FanDuel.
That's Chris Spags. I'm at Eric Lindquist over on X. He's at Chris Spags. Tell the people where to find you, where they can potentially see your comedy if we get 13 more likes.
You can follow me at Chris Spags. Check out my at Splash Play NBA channel. And just so we can get out of the way for our Live Before Lock friends, you can also check out Playback. And I was playing it back over and over again the other night. If you catch my drift, I couldn't take my eyes off of what was going on there. The best I've ever seen Josh and Greg look. But you know what? There's a lot of holes to fill in a random hacked playback stream. A lot of holes to fill for the Lakers tonight. So play them left and right. Mwah! Thank you for the likes. See you soon. You can tell he's jacking it, right? That's pretty clear.
What is happening, everybody? And it is time for another NBA Live Before Lock, and a little bit of a smaller slate today. It's, I think, probably related to the NCAA tournament, Matt. I don't know if that's for real. I'm just kind of making somewhat of an educated guess here, but we only have 4 NBA games today. Also, pretty small DFS contests, but still money to be made and a whole ton of potential value that Matt and I are going to be walking you guys through for the next hour here. So do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and very exciting stuff around here, Matt. Do you want to guess why?
No, please enlighten me.
So, as you know, next week, start of the baseball season. It's approaching close. And guess what? We've got baseball packages now live on the site. You guys could sign up for any MLB DFS package and you get access for just $1 through April 3rd. So it is going to renew whatever subscription is you sign up for April 4th. So through April 3rd, though, and it doesn't matter if you sign up today, tomorrow, you wait until next week, you are going to get access to any MLB package of your choosing on our site for just $1 with the promo code CYCLE. Cycle as in, somebody hits a single, double, triple, and homer all in the same game. So CYCLE, all capital letters, link down below in the YouTube description box. Sign up with that promo code. Get access to our MLB sims, player projections, ownership. We got a late swap tool as well for baseball in the event that you get weird starting lineups to come out after lock. Just $1 for a baseball package. That is now live on the site, guys. So take advantage of it. And if you're unsure if you want to play MLB DFS, it's only $1. Check it out to open up the year. See if the tools are for you. You looking forward to the baseball season, Matt?
You know it, man. It's my favorite time of the year. DraftKings released the slate already for next Thursday, so that's exciting. All the games start at 4 p.m. Yeah, I'm hyped, man. I love baseball. The Guardians are always at least relevant, even if they're not amazing. So always just a fun season. Weather changing. Yeah, I'm super hyped for baseball. How about you?
Yeah, man. Excited for baseball. Very tired today, though. I know next to nothing about the individual teams and players for college basketball. Didn't stop me from creating a bunch of brackets, but because what ended up happening was that the DraftKings $100 bracket contest, I noticed it was very likely to overlay. A couple of reasons that I noticed it was going to overlay. Number one, my rep texted me for an offer if I entered at least 10 entries. That was a tip off to me. They thought it was going to overlay. But then on top of it, too, I could just look in the lobby last night and saw there was a lot of remaining entries. So I was like, all right, I need to figure out a way to take advantage of this. So I dug really into AI last night, and I came up with a whole process for simulating out the tournament and figuring out the right bracket center. I kind of played it like it was a DFS contest. So I had a lot of fun with that. But as a result, I was up like the entire night trying to figure that out. So I've been exhausted today, and still, though, looking forward to this NBA slate. As somebody brought up in chat, I did misspeak at the top. I think I said that there was 4 games when there are, in fact, 5 games on the slate. But even with the lack of games, it is not preventing us from a potential lack of value here, because the Lakers, no Austin Reeves tonight, no Luka Doncic, and we still have so many key players questionable. Josh Giddey is questionable. Damian Lillard is questionable. Miles McBride is questionable. Jake LaRavia, he's officially questionable. Gary Payton II, the mitten, he is questionable to play as well. The big one to me, well, Josh Giddey being questionable, that's pretty important. But then, of course, Damian Lillard as well questionable. Are there any players on the injury report that you have a strong feeling will be in or out of the players who are questionable?
Yeah, definitely got to be Dame being out. I mean, midday downgrade with the Lakers resting everyone. Now, the only reason I'm a little bit skeptical is because they've been struggling, Milwaukee, that is. They just called a team meeting with Dame and Giannis. I read that. I think that was on, tweeted out yesterday. So, maybe they want their guys out there tonight, but the midday downgrade just kills that for me. So I don't expect Dame to play. How about you?
Yeah, I also don't expect Dame to play. I'm kind of curious as to why they didn't just rule him out. By the way, also, I am trying to figure out playback. It looks like it booted both Matt and I, and it won't let me screen share. So it looks like it's being a little wonky right now. I also noticed that it pulled Eric's stuff off screen while he was all right. So there I was able to at least screen share. So all right, that'll have to do for now. They're over in playback. So if you guys want to just look at some of the bets from Portfolio EV, you could get those over at playback. But yeah, for whatever reason, it's just booting Matt and I off stage. So that is That is a little bit of a hurdle right now. I don't know exactly what it is that's going on there. I'll try to get back in and see if it works now. How about now? Can you guys hear me on playback now? I'm like waiting for them to answer as if they're going to give me like a call and response. All right. I think we are back over there now because it's letting me screen share again. So anyway, I totally agree with you. I think Dame, who is officially questionable, I think he ends up getting ruled out tonight. The big question becomes now is, with that being a later locking game, what, if anything, do we want to do to be preparing our lineups for Dame to be sitting? Do we just want to assume he's out as of right now and we play some cheap guys as well as Giannis? Or how are you going to approach Dame, at least for our perspectives, not being expected to play?
I'm approaching it like he's not playing. Now, what that does is relative, right? Like, we already have really strong plays on the Lakers side. So I think your lineups are already going to be backloaded enough where it shouldn't matter. I mean, for me personally, like, the only two guys that I think are must plays with Dame being out are Giannis, who's already going to be in a lot of lineups because you got to spend your money somewhere on this slate, and then Kevin Porter. And I like Kevin Porter kind of with Dame even in. Like, it's a different kind of play with Dame in. Like, you're giving up probably like 6 points in projection, but probably like you're getting like a tenth of the ownership you get him at. So honestly, he's a really strong play for me either way. So me personally, I don't have to do much.
So here's the other part of the question then, which is tied into Dame. Clearly, the late games is where the best value is, right? Like, our lineups kind of naturally are going to be backloaded. If you're just running stuff through the Sims, you're getting lots of Lakers exposure. They're showing up more than any other team. A little bit of Kings mixed in there as well. Giannis is a pay up option. Is there anything you're looking at early they're either trying to avoid because of the fact that we could have more value open up later? Or is there anything that you're trying to get more of as a potential pay up option because more value might open up later?
I'm not really looking at it like that. Like, I don't want to load up early because I don't think there are that many strong plays early. But I do think that because the slate is so small, 5 games, and there are a bunch of higher price studs in that first game, that getting some exposure makes sense. I mean, I think that game, at least from my perspective, looks better than like the Toronto Golden State game. So, like, irregardless of what happens in the late game, you know, because we know Luka and Reeves are out and we have all that Lakers value, I like Karl Anthony Towns a lot. I'm not sure what could happen late that could make me not like Towns. Like, sure, Dame being in, then Dame becomes a strong play, but I still really like Towns in this spot after the Knicks got embarrassed. You know, we have to wait and see on Deuce McBride, who I think is a really big pivot point on this slate, because if he's out, then the Knicks value, like campaign, they don't have as much of it, rivals the Lakers value. So then we have to decide what to do there. But as of now, I like Towns a lot. I like Hart a lot. Those are two guys that I think you can prioritize. How do you see it?
Yeah, it's funny. Arkathelza in the YouTube chat, I'm seeing, he says, LOL, Greg tried to set him up to say Towns. I didn't mean to do it that way. He is my answer here, though, as somebody I want to get early, because if there is no Dame, we like Giannis a whole bunch, but we already like Giannis a whole bunch. And you run into this potential issue where if Dame is ruled out and all this value opens up for Milwaukee, if you don't already have Towns in lineups, like let's say that you had, him in like 10% of lineups or something like that, then you're going to run into an issue. It's like, oh shit, we've got all this value and just nothing to spend up for. And then you're going to run into an issue where it's like, oh, I'm running lineups through late swap and there's like $1,000, $2,000 in salary left on the table. So with that in mind, I actually do think it's pretty important to make sure that you have lineups that have Cat in them. As of right now, he's in about half my lineups, just because I expect Dame to be ruled out. I don't know exactly what that Milwaukee starting lineup is going to be, but it is likely to bring us some extra value. And in that case, we need somebody to pay up for. And there just aren't pay up options that are readily available to us late when you consider that there's no LeBron and there's no Luka for the Lakers going, or Austin Reeves for that matter. If we had Reeves playing and Luka out, I probably would have preferred Reeves to Cat today. I would have been paying a big price tag for Austin Reeves as well as he's played as of late and all the usage that he'd be taking on. We don't have that as an option. So Cat's pretty important to me for the early games. There's nobody else that's really important to me outside of Cat, though.
That's fair. I like Josh Hart a lot. He's not a priority like Cat is. Like Hart, I'll probably play in one of my 3 lineups, but certainly not like a building block. The other guy that could get there to me is Campaign. Like if McBride is out, Campaign at 3,100. Like, I mean, we're talking about Markieff Morris as, one of the most popular plays on the slate at 3K. I don't see any reason why Campaign couldn't slide right in there. What do you think?
So it's going to depend. I'm not really looking to play. Just making sure I understood correctly. You're looking to play Campaign early
if McBride is out.
Okay, all right. So in the event that So in the event that McBride is out, if McBride plays, then I'm not really going to be looking at him as a fringe value option. So yeah, we're on the same page there. It is pending that update, which we should be getting in the next 10 minutes or so, because that game does start in 40 minutes. I tend to think he's probably a little bit more likely to play than sit, simply because Tibbs is his coach.
Yeah, that's fair. Like for me, he's out of play. I don't think he's 3,100 and it's a small slate, but he's not a priority. Like he's an outside the box type play if McBride's in, but if McBride's out, like I think he looks comparable to some of the Lakers value.
Yeah, could definitely end up being the case. So we'll see what happens in the next coming minutes. That's almost certainly news that we'll be getting here in short order. If you guys have any super chats or questions for us or anything like that, hit me up in Discord. I'll be on the lookout for it. And if you haven't done it, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I know Eric shouted him out on the last show, but I want to do it as well just because it was such a big gift. But Jorge Giacomi ended up giving us 50 YouTube memberships. So Jorge, thank you very much for supporting the channel. We do very much appreciate all it is that you've done to support us over the last few years around here. Now, we've got from Coach DFS. Coach wants to know, who are the DK single entry locks? So this is a really interesting way to look at the slate. And, we could do some updates to this if there's Miles McBride being ruled out. But as of right now, who are you going to consider the single entry locks, Matt? If you're building a single entry lineup, who do you think you just can't go without at the moment?
There's a lot of them on this slate. Like, I think that there's going to be a lot of lineups that look really similar. So I do think that in like the game theory aspect of this slate, like you could look to like get off the build that's going to be popular completely because you're giving up projection for sure. But it's such a small slate and ownership is so condensed. And we know weird stuff can happen in March in the NBA. Look at last night. Like I took out all my Avdia at utility for Westbrook because he projected a lot better. Well, we know how that turned out. So like, just because guys project really well doesn't mean it's going to turn out like that. I digress. As far as on paper, the best plays, I think Shake Milton, Dalton Connect, Jordan Goodwin, and Markieff Morris, along with Giannis, look like 5 guys that I think you just have to play.
Yeah, and for myself, I'm going to say play Cat early, just so you're best situated for the late news. Play Giannis. I don't think it's going to be hard to have lineups both Giannis and Cat in them, especially on DraftKings, where you got Cat $9,700, Giannis 11,700, and then all these cheap guys to be playing. Dalton Connect, Markieff Morris, Jordan Goodwin, as of now, Shake Milton. But like Matt had said before, if Campaign starts, Miles McBride's out, then Campaign might end up looking better than Shake Milton. But those are the guys who I'm going to say are the must plays for me as of right now. One other team I want to ask you about is the Indiana Pacers. Even if there's no real priorities there, they still don't have Tyrese Haliburton for today. We were loading up on the Pacers the other day, sans Tyrese Haliburton. Are there any Pacers guys that you have your eye on for today with Haliburton out again? Not as like, by the way, just to reiterate, not as like must play sort of guys, but just guys you're like, oh, this guy looks like somebody who we should have at least some exposure to from the Pacers.
So I think that last night was a good showing of how the Pacers are good plays as a whole, but not necessarily great plays on slates like this, even with Haliburton out, for the simple fact that they've been priced up a little bit for Haliburton being out. So I think that all those guys, Nembhard, McConnell, Siakam, Nembhard, Siakam, Mathurin, I think 3 guys that look really good, but they don't look great like the Lakers guys. So I don't think any of them are like priorities, but their ownership isn't that high. And they're in, no Haliburton. I don't love the spot against Brooklyn, but I don't hate it either. So I think those three guys, Nembhard, Mathurin, and then Siakam, but probably Nembhard and Mathurin as the main two, as guys that I wouldn't mind getting to at all, but I'm not going to prioritize. How about you?
So one thing to add here, Miles McBride, Deuce McBride, also as he goes by, he was just ruled in. So kind of what I thought before.
Great.
I don't know if he's going to be 100%, but Tom Thibodeau is his coach, and Tom Thibodeau likes to play his guys. I don't know what the deal was with there seemed to be conflicting stories about what happened with Mikal Bridges the other day. There was a report that he went into Tom Thibodeau and basically said something along the lines of, hey, the team is struggling to stay healthy. We should be playing the starters less minutes. And Tom Thibodeau publicly said, number one, that's not something Bridges said to him. But then point two, that he disagrees that the guy should be playing less minutes because he's like, our guys are playing, like less than 50 minutes per game. Or like, I don't even know what it was, but he was under the impression that his guys are not he's under the impression his guys are not playing too many minutes, even though every team he's coached for the last 15 years has been hurt in the playoffs every single year. He thinks, I guess it's a coincidence. It has nothing to do with his guys routinely play 1 billion minutes. But anyway, Miles McBride, not 100%. He's still going to be out there tonight for the New York Knicks because that is the way that they generally tend to operate. Even I thought there was a good chance earlier that, I don't know if you watched any of that game last night, but Cat got hurt and missed a portion of the game. I thought it looked like he was going to be out for a while. I thought that he was live to rest today for that reason. He had a hand injury, but even him, they're throwing out there today. So
that goes into what I was just thinking, though, that I'm a little bit worried about and how things can go off. And I really do like Cat tonight because you have to spend your money somewhere. But I could see this game. I mean, the Knicks are like 8-point favorites on the road. I'm not betting the Knicks here because I wouldn't take them as an 8-point favorite on the road. But I also think that they could destroy Charlotte here. I mean, Charlotte stinks, even with all their guys healthy. The Knicks got embarrassed last night. And I do think in a situation like that, we could see Tibbs pull back the reins in the second half. I'm not usually concerned about that with the Knicks like ever, but it's in the back of my mind here. And you mentioning that injury, which I had no idea about, only like pushes that farther in my brain. So yeah, I mean, do with that what you will.
All right, let's see if we had any other questions that came in, and no super chats in the Discord. We don't have anything either right now. So we could just kind of look at some of the slate as a whole right here. And let's see if there was any updates. I want to put the most recent ownership projections on screen. And all right, we'll go through DraftKings and FanDuel. Here's what we right now have for the most rostered players on the DraftKings side of things. Jordan Goodwin, 83% owned. Dalton Connect, 79% owned. Markieff Morris is 55% owned. Giannis, 54% owned. Shake Milton, 49% owned. Cat, 47% owned. Then you've got Gabe Vincent, 36% owned. D'Lo, 33% owned. Of all those popular players, Matt, are any of ones you look at and say, that guy's a little bit too popular for me?
Not really. I mean, like none of these guys look really overowned. So no. How about you?
Yeah, looking at my lineups, I am coming in a little bit underweight to Gabe Vincent. And the primary reason for it is Gabe Vincent, you guys will see here, very shitty fantasy producer. Even with all these guys out, it gets his rates boosted all the way to 0.76 fantasy points per minute. This is with no LeBron, no Luka, no Austin Reeves. All those guys being out means you get Gabe Vincent up to 0.76 fantasy points per minute. So we have him projected for massive minutes today, 35 of them. In 35 minutes, that gets him to 26 fantasy points at $5,300 at $4,300. Now, what happens if the Lakers just kind of spread out the rotation, or they just lose by a lot because they're resting everybody? If Gabe Vincent then ends up playing low 30s minutes or high 20s minutes, he is going to look, from a projection standpoint, not all that great in a hurry. So Gabe Vincent's one of the chalky pieces who I'm underweight to the field to. I prefer just about every other cheap popular option to Gabe Vincent tonight.
So I'm totally with you. Like, I honestly, for some reason, thought you were just talking about the main four Lakers, but for including like just all the chalky guys, he's easily the one guy. And I mean, the tools bear that out. Like, he's coming in like as the most negatively leveraged play on the slate. Now, I will say, like, I could see him, like I could see the ownership on not Goodwin, on Shake Milton. And then if we get KPJ in, like just getting really high, and in turn, Vincent's ownership becoming lower than what we're projecting. But I don't want him like anywhere near what we're projecting. And I don't think I'll want him, even if he comes in lower than that, anywhere near that number either. I'm with you.
Yeah. And it's been, it's been a while that he's just not been a good fantasy producer. So if you look at really his entire time with the Lakers, I think it's probably related to, he was a really shitty fantasy producer with the Heat as well. Not quite as shitty as what he is right now. I do think the injury probably didn't help him, where he missed a lot of the 2023-2024 season. That year, he averaged less than half a fantasy point per minute. Last year, he barely averaged more than half a fantasy point per minute. Last year, you had him... Oh, no, I'm looking at... So last year was 2023-2024. He averaged under half a fantasy point per minute. This year, he's barely over half a fantasy point per minute. So, you're just looking at a really poor fantasy producer. So even with all these guys out, like look at the fantasy point per minute projection on Gabe Vincent compared to all of the other popular options. So of all of the players on the slate who are projected for at least 20% ownership, Matt, all of them score north of 0.92 fantasy points per minute, 0.92 or higher. Gabe Vincent, 0.16 lower than the second lowest points per minute fantasy producer from a projection standpoint. Pretty low right there. Now, if we look at the FanDuel side of things, here's what we have for FanDuel ownership. We have for FanDuel, Dalton Connect breaking everything, projected for 90. He's not going to be 95% owned. He's going to be pretty damn popular, though. Then we got Jordan Goodwin, 84% owned. Giannis, 73% owned. We've got DeMar DeRozan, just under 50% owned. Malik Monk, just under 50% owned. Gabe Vincent and Shake Milton, each over 40% barely. And then you got Cat just under 40%. And I'm going to say the same thing here that I said about it for the DraftKings side of things. Gabe Vincent looks to me like somebody who's quite overowned on the FanDuel side of things. I don't want to be near the field on a guy in Gabe Vincent who's projected to be nearly 50% owned. And that's shown in our boom bust tool and our data there as well. If you look at the scores here, we have Gabe Vincent optimal 27% of the time relative to 43% ownership. So he's your most negatively leveraged player over on the FanDuel slate. That's exactly how I see it as well.
Yeah, I don't want to play Gabe Vincent here. And the other part of it on both DK and FanDuel, like he's more expensive than the other guys we like. So, yeah, I'm with you. Like there's just so many other good plays on this slate I'd rather play.
Who is a chalky option that you are going to be playing who just terrifies you, where you look at them and go, this could potentially go pretty poorly? I have a guy in mind for myself.
Same. I mean, I don't even think that's a question here. Markieff Morris. I mean, going to be starting probably. I mean, at least we're projecting that, but he's 50 years. I love the Morris twins, so like I have no problem clicking that button, but I'm fully aware that like at this point in his career, he could play 25 minutes and score 10 fantasy points, or he could play 10 minutes and score 10 fantasy points. So, you know, I'm going to play him because the Lakers are really shorthanded. And he's also a guy that he can produce if he's getting the minutes. It's not guaranteed. He's not one of those guys that you just like jam in and know he's going to get there, but he's cheap enough. The Lakers are shorthanded enough. Presuming he's starting, I think he projects as a good play, but not going to be shocked at all if he doesn't play a ton and he's like, and he doesn't close, and someone like, I don't know, insert player Christian Coloca or whoever they have up tonight sees second half run over him. So he's my guy there.
Malukar in the chat asked, do we think Dorian Finney-Smith's going to play? He's listed as doubtful. I very rarely expect a guy who's doubtful to play. So for me, I'm anticipating that there will not be Dorian Finney-Smith in the lineup for tonight. One other thing that I want to ask you, and then we could do the nuke of the night and play the animation here, is, are there any players you are looking at from the Lakers at low ownership who you are potentially willing to take shots on to differentiate yourself from the field? It's such an ugly slate that I did see a couple people in YouTube bring up Bronny, which no, not for me. But I mean, also just kind of funny bringing this up. Bronny does rate out as quite a bit better of a fantasy producer than Gabe Vincent. So I do find that to be pretty amusing here.
That's good.
Any contrarian options from the Lakers that stand out to you at all?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm willing to go 4 deep on the Lakers and just play the popular guys and get different elsewhere. Like, I don't really see it. I mean, if I were playing 150, I think you could take shots on like the random Bronnies or Colocos of the world. But Jackson Hayes is like the most expensive. I think he's a guy that really benefits from having Luka. Like, he's not going to take on increased usage. He could get there, but I'm not super excited about him because guys are out and they have like a bunch of centers. So I think it's the popular guys and you look to get different elsewhere personally. I don't need to find like it's funny. The Bronny play is funny.
Yeah, I'm not. If there was ever a spot where he was going to have a decent fantasy game, it would be tonight. But it's not a button that.
Would you play him over Gabe Vincent? Like ownership included.
Yeah, I mean, you look at all these.
You hate Gabe Vincent.
I don't hate him. He's just probably the worst fantasy producer in the league on a per minute basis.
Yeah, he's awful.
With that said, Cam Reddish actually kind of comparable. We've got Cam Reddish projected for 0.62 fantasy points per minute tonight. Part of that is, he's barely playing, and then he's just been so ineffective when he's been on the court this year. But we actually do, for the purposes of going over this, he does not project as the worst fantasy producer on the slate. That actually is Cam Reddish, but that's on a per minute basis. And then Cam Reddish also probably isn't going to play all that many minutes.
Yeah, I'm with you. One thing we didn't talk about that I wanted to just bring up, I'm sure we'll get there, is the Josh Giddey situation.
Yeah, so I listed him off as being questionable at the top here. It's something I'm not concerning myself with too much right now for a couple of reasons. First off, the timing of the game, it being later, and we've already got a lot of exposure there, so we'll have room to kind of move guys around. Another thing as well, when it comes to Josh Giddey, is he's projected for very low ownership. I do have some exposure to him. I think he's kind of an interesting contrarian GPP play, but he's not somebody who I would have as like a core piece of lineups or anything like that. But what kind of thoughts do you have on Josh Giddey? It's
more like if he's out, does that make anyone like a Trey Jones or Kobe White, even a Vucevic? Like, do these guys become like in the must-play territory, or do they all just look better but no priority in there?
Yeah, so I would guess here. Let's pull up Chicago. If we look at Chicago, and also I don't think Josh Giddey's going to play. They told us, meaning the Chicago Bulls, that Josh Giddey, when he was coming back from his ankle injury, was not likely to play in back-to-backs. I think it was an ankle injury, if I remember correctly. Maybe it was a different. I think it was an ankle sprain. They told us when he returned that he would not play in back-to-backs for the rest of the year, and now he's questionable today. It'd be very bizarre to me if 2 days ago they said he's not playing in back-to-backs for the rest of the year, and then a team with zero to play for this season just says, all right, let's go back when we said a couple of days ago. It'd be very bizarre to me.
I'm with you. Like, I don't even know why they listed him as questionable.
So we'll see what ends up happening there. I mean, teams lie for no reason. I don't know. Even if the Bulls are like, hey, let's throw them off and give them a commit, like, for what? For what? What do you, the team isn't even trying to win aggressively now. Like, why?
I don't even know what they're doing. They're in the play-in though. I don't get it.
I think coaches are addicted to lying. I think they can't help it.
Yeah, it's so funny. Coaches are just animals. I was here and I can't remember who was talking about it, but talk about Dan Hurley, the UConn coach, and that he loves arguing with officials so much that there was a play where like the official moved the baseline out of bounds to a place that was like better for UConn to inbound it. But because Hurley knew the ref was wrong, he just argued with him and like screamed at the official anyways.
By the way, I have to, a couple people brought it up in the chat. So I have to say I was wrong on this. I thought I had read that they said he wasn't going to play in back-to-backs the rest of the season, but I did just find a quote where they said that he could play in a back-to-back. So I could just be remembering wrong. Either way, it doesn't make sense to me for him to play today.
Yeah, same. I mean, I don't know. It's more like I think he's in play at 8,500. Like we saw it last night. He's got upside even coming off the bench, but it's more like the other guys. Like, how much do I like the other guys on Chicago if he's out? which I expect him to be out.
I do as well. So if we look at the Chicago Bulls and we look at the different pricing and the players on the team, one thing that is going on here, it kind of seems like the team has already been priced up for the absence of Josh Giddey, where, Vooch is $7,100. I think they'll probably be kind of cautious with his minutes too down the stretch of the season. But Kobe White's $8,200. Kevin Huerter's $5,500. Trey Jones is $6,300. I guess the one guy who would look a little bit better you can make a case for is Buzelis at $4,800 maybe. But once again, I mean, Kobe White, $8,200. Kevin Huerter, $5,500. This feels like prices to me as if they were priced like there wasn't going to be any Giddey tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you. It is a small enough slate though, where I don't think, even as of right now, I don't think those guys with Giddey in, they probably are not great plays. With Giddey out, they don't become great plays, but they become in play, I guess is the best way for me to put it, at least from my perspective.
All right. We have a couple of questions waiting for us in Discord, so we'll answer these, and then we'll do the nuke of the night afterwards. We have here from Daniels in chat. Daniels wants to know, how many do you think you... Okay, so I assume there's a little bit of a typo here. Here's what... if this is not your question, Daniels, just follow up and I'll answer what you intended it. I think what he's asking is, how many players do we think we can / should play from the first two games? Feels like 3, but he really likes 2. I don't think I have any lineups with more than 2 players from the first couple games on the slate. The guys I like the most in this order, it is Cat number 1 by a mile, nobody even close to Cat. Then it's D'Angelo Russell. And then you're looking at taking some shots on Benedict Mathurin. I've got some Miles Bridges lineups just because he's so contrarian for today. So he shows up a little bit, but it's sub 20% of lineups. In general, though, I don't think I'll have lineups that have more than 2 players from the first couple games.
Yeah, I mean, I probably won't either, but I'm not really looking at it like that. It's just it's not because they're the first 2 games. It's just because there are more plays I like in the later game.
It happens naturally. And then on top of it, I kind of like it that way as well. I saw somebody in the YouTube chat. Who was it? It was Scott McMillan in the chat said the key is to slam the 2 early games while everybody waits for news on the late games. Here's the thing, though. We're not waiting for news. We already have it. I think you're making a massive mistake if you're not playing the Lakers today because I want to play the early games because there's so much value on the Lakers. We continually have these spots where it's not every single player on these teams is going to crush. Although with that said, we've had a couple of slates where it's Pacers guys all do really well the other day as value options. OKC, all of them did really well as value options as well with a bunch of guys who are sitting out. If you're only playing the early games and you're just foregoing the late games, I think you're making a really big mistake by just writing off the Lakers. To me, the odds of at least one Laker being in the winning lineup, probably a couple, it's very, very high.
Yeah, so I kind of look at it there's no way you would ever just fade the Lakers here. If you want to play 3 or 4 Lakers and then play Bridges, LaMelo, and Towns instead of Giannis, I think that's a contrarian way to play it, that while you're giving up projection is still on the island. If you're playing the scrubby Hornets instead of the scrubby Lakers value, you're just doing it wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I agree entirely. We've got a super chat here. Charles Moran was just saying, Greg can't hear me on playback. I think that was from earlier. I rejoined. Yeah, it's been, I think it booted Matt as well. The same thing happened to me. It's just a little buggy. It stopped screen sharing me and then I had to redo that. So there's not going to be the post-lock show today, but we will leave the stream running afterwards. Just kind of out of our control sometimes. Coley Poston says, not a big revenge guy, but does LaVine nuke tonight? Matt, do you have any interest in Zach LaVine as a very contrarian option? He is only 2% owned.
So projections would say he's a bad play. And I like him more than the projections. I don't even look at it like revenge. He's got some, revenge against Chicago, but I'm sure he'd love to give it to his old teammates. So I think you can boost him because of that, but he's hard to get to at 8,600 with all the guys on Sacramento projecting better than him and cheaper. So I think that we know he's got a ceiling in tournaments, but you're giving up projection to play him. So it just kind of depends on how you want to roll the dice there.
It's a very expensive price tag for Zach LaVine. It's super
very expensive.
Like, he doesn't really warrant that kind of salary. I know it's a great matchup against the Bulls. And, you know, some of the revenge narrative stuff, it could go in either direction. Like, there was a point in time where everybody wanted to play Jimmy Butler against his former teams. And then, like, he would do stuff like take 0 shots for the entire game to try to prove a point. So it could end up mattering. It could end up not mattering. It could even end up hurting him. Like, it could matter in a way where it negatively impacts him. You just don't know until the game's over.
People don't talk about this side of it, but like, I don't think it's relevant here, but you've got some situations where guys talk about like, oh, this guy, like, you know, like who, let's just say Kuzma for whatever. It goes back to Washington, like revenge. I guarantee you everyone on Washington wants to shut down Kuzma because they hate him. So like, people don't think about it like that. And I'm not saying that's, you know, the outcome here, but I think it more is to what you originally said. He's just too expensive. He doesn't even project for 40 fantasy points and he's 8,600. Like, you just, I'm going to struggle to play a guy like that.
Yeah, totally agree. And then, you know, even on FanDuel where he's cheaper at $7,500, it brings him into play because he's $1,100 cheaper, but he's still not somebody I'm dying to play even at $7,500. Like, he's viable. He's in play at $7,500 more so than 8,600, but still not like a massively important piece or anything for me over on the FanDuel side of things. Let's see. We've got a super chat here from Braden Baum. Braden wants to know, if Dame doesn't play, how many minutes does Kevin Porter Jr. get? So we've seen this play out a few times and don't expect, I mean, it could happen, but Kevin Porter Jr. has not started in these spots without Damian Lillard. He's typically still come off the bench, and sometimes it hasn't even really significantly impacted his minutes. But I'll go through the few most recent games that Dame sat out. Last game Dame sat out, we got 23 minutes from Kevin Porter Jr. The game before that Dame sat out, we got, 21 and a half minutes from Kevin Porter Jr. In the game before that Dame sat out, we got, okay, that was before he was on the team. All right, so we've seen 2 games. He's played 21 and a half and 23 minutes. 22 to 24 minutes, I think that's a reasonable expectation for Kevin Porter Jr. And once again, that's assuming that Dame is out and Porter Jr. comes off the bench. Those minutes look better if KPJ is starting. But based on what we've seen in other absences, it's probably Porter Jr. comes off the bench and plays like 22 to 24 minutes. And anything you would add to that, Matt?
No, it does seem like they've been giving him more run lately. So I wouldn't be like shocked if he's starting, but I like him a lot either way. I mean, we can just take this right into the nuke of the night.
All right, let's do it then. Let's play the animation. I have a feeling I know who you're going to go for based on what you just said, but who knows? Maybe you're throwing me off the scent. It's a curveball, and you're going to go with somebody else. We'll see. Oh boy, Matt, inquiring minds want to know now. Are you going with Kevin Porter Jr. or have you thrown a curveball at us? And are you trying to deceive us and pull some kind of fast one on us with who you're going with?
No curveball, no deception. It was just too perfect of a segue not to go with it. I know that you had wanted to go there a couple times with the nuke of the night. So KPJ is my nuke of the night here. Again, kind of going back to what I talked about earlier in the show. He's a contrarian, like outside the box play if Dame is in, but he's not going to get any ownership. And he still projects for 20 fantasy points, even with Dame in. With Dame out, he becomes one of the strongest plays on the slate. I don't care if he's starting or not starting. He's the same exact price as Shake Milton. So maybe that keeps his ownership down. I'm going to prepare to play both. He's just way too cheap for what I expect to be a really good roll tonight in a game that could clearly get funky with all the guys on the Lakers that are out. So give me KPJ as my nuke of the night at 3,700.
All right. Yeah, I think this is it's a really difficult slate to find like crazy contrarian guys to latch onto.
Yep.
So like I could certainly see a case for KPJ, but then with that said, like Dame gets rolled out, he probably becomes fairly, at least somewhat popular in that kind of scenario. So I am having a hard time finding somebody to give to you guys who I'm like, oh, here's this crazy contrarian play that I'm looking at for today that I could point to as a way to really differentiate a lineup. But with that said, I do have one guy who has some modest ownership with a ton of volatility, Matt, but volatility could work against you. It could work in your favor as well for some lower owned pieces. Jonas Valanciunas has a good matchup on paper against the Chicago Bulls. And because his minutes have been so in flux, like he gets played off the court regularly these days. Valanciunas is not a good real life player. And we've seen even with Sabonis out, like there was I think a game last week where Valanciunas got totally run off the court in the first half. He played like 30 seconds in the second half. Assuming he starts today against the Bulls, there's an opportunity for him to start the game well, where he just plays himself into like 30 minutes or something like that, and they could end up crushing. So Valanciunas, if you're looking to take a shot on a not super high spendy pay up option, but somebody who is volatile, has upside, is lower owned, and then also he's in a later starting game. So if we do end up getting more players ruled out, you'll have the flexibility to swap off him. I'm taking some shots on Valanciunas and GPPs.
I love that call. I mean, I kind of liked him last night before we got all the news because Cleveland had been giving it up to centers with Jared Allen having a little bit of a hand injury. He was okay. My big worry there is exactly what you talked about. Like, it's no guarantee. Like, when Sabonis was first out, he was like playing a ton of minutes every night. And now that's just not the case. So there's a lot of risk there. And I'll say this is like a really contrarian, cheap pivot, in obviously non-Valanciunas lineups is Trey Lyles. He was really good last night in game scripts that if Vooch is played off the floor a little bit, like you could see Lyles getting good run here. He played a lot with Valanciunas last night. So Lyles is intriguing as like a really cheap pivot off the Lakers guys to me.
Yeah, don't mind that. Don't mind that at all. Let's see what else we have for questions from you guys. We have Joseph Gutierrez wants to know, are Curry and Butler for FanDuel GPPs good with all the value on the slate? So it's not that I have an issue with Curry or Butler in lineups. I just like other pay up options a lot better. Like I prefer Giannis. I prefer Cat. I'd rather go up to LaMelo as another one as well. Curry, Butler, are these considerations for you?
No, they're not. Again, like it's a small enough slate where I think that, like you talked about Miles Bridges, like guys that have upside like that, like Curry, Bridges, I guess Butler's in that group. They're in play on this slate, but man, they're not projecting well. So it's really hard to get off like the Giannis and Townses of the world for those guys.
Yeah. Finding it hard to get to those kinds of guys for myself for sure. Let's see what else we have for Super Chat. We've got one from Chris Albers. He says, just had a customer walk in and disrupt my Stokastic time. So rude. Yeah, I mean, how are these customers? What, they think they just buy stuff whenever they want? You got stuff to attend to. Favorite plays by position for DK, Chalk, and GPP? Absolutely. Let's go through each position on DraftKings, Matt, and give out our favorite chalk and a favorite contrarian play at each position. And this is going to be for DraftKings. Now let's start at the point guard spot. Matt, who's your favorite chalk point guard and your favorite contrarian point guard?
So my favorite chalk point guard is Shake Milton, and my favorite contrarian as of now is Kevin Porter. Although, to your point, like if and when Dame is out, like this is not unexpected news. Like we're not the only people that expect Dame to sit. KPJ will not be low owned when Dame is out. But as of right now, I'll use him.
My favorite chalk point guard is Shake Milton. I don't really have a contrarian one that I like getting to. There's nobody, I don't have significant exposure to anybody who's like single digit owned at the point guard spot. I guess one thing that I could throw out there to go with, if Dame plays, obviously big caveat, if he plays, he's going to be well underowned by the field. I don't think people are going to be rostering him. So in the event Dame's in, I think he looks pretty good for this slate.
Couldn't agree more.
Shooting guard. Who do you like at chalk and who do you like as a contrarian option?
So the Lakers have a bunch of these shooting guards / small forwards, but I'll say Jordan Goodwin as my favorite chalky guy. And then my favorite low-owned shooting guard. There aren't many of them. He's not getting a ton of love. I'll go Benedict Mathurin, who I do like here.
Yeah, it's going to be same answers for me. Jordan Goodwin, Benedict Mathurin. I do have 30% of Mathurin for the slate. He's somebody who still was able to make his way into lineups for me, despite the earlier start time. At small forward, who's your favorite chalk and favorite contrarian small forward?
I'll say Connect there for my favorite chalk guy. And then my favorite contrarian is Josh Hart, who I like a lot here.
Okay. Chalk guy for me is going to be Dalton Connect. Favorite contrarian guy for me, DeMar DeRozan at small forward. Power forward.
Favorite chalk guy is easily Giannis. Well, you could say, I'll say Giannis because I don't even want to say Morris. And then my favorite contrarian is, I like your Miles Bridges call, but I'll stay with Hart. There just aren't that many contrarian guys I like on this slate, and I don't think you need that many of them. Another guy I will say, though, is Kuzma in the, with Dame potentially being out, and I don't think he's a guy that will get any love. So that's the reason I'll say him.
Yeah, for me, a power forward, chalk option, Giannis, contrarian option, Miles Bridges. And now finally at center, Matt.
Favorite chalky centers, Towns, easily. Favorite low-owned center, I'm going to say Vooch. Like, I don't love the back-to-back, but I love the price tag, and I like the matchup. So give me Vooch here.
Cat as a chalk point guard. Cat as a chalk center, and then Valanciunas as a contrarian center for me. The next super chat is from Olrat14. To be different, play 3 Lakers instead of 4 or 5. I don't really think that's like a massive differentiation point.
I think a lot of people will do that. A lot of people don't want to play more than 3 Lakers in one lineup. I have no problem playing 4.
Yeah. I don't even know that, like Matt said, I don't even know you're doing something that's massively different from the field by doing that.
Yeah, I don't think even a little bit. Now, I don't think you have to play 4. I don't think, as of right now, the way he's projected, Marcus Morris is an absolute must play. Not sure I see it that way. So he would be the odd
He's
man
also
out.
not a lock to start. Like, if he doesn't start, it becomes way less interesting. The Lakers starting lineup could be a number of things for today. Eric Goodwin left us a super chat. He wants to know top 5 plays for the DK $40 contest. Let's see. If I was building out a single entry lineup right now, I would have Cat and Giannis as pay up options. And then for cheaper guys, Shake Milton, Dalton Connect, and Jordan Goodwin. Anybody else that you would add to that?
I don't think so, no. I think that sounds good to me.
Shout out to Chris Williams, who gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. Chris, as always, thank you for supporting the channel. And also want to remind you guys one more time that we have our MLB packages live to start the season. You get access for just $1. Promo code CYCLE. Sign up through the link down below in the YouTube description box. Doesn't matter if you sign up today, you sign up tomorrow, you sign up Saturday, you sign up Sunday, you're going to get access through April 3rd with packages renewing on April 4th. So you might as well get in as early as possible, especially because once we have projections up on the site, you can start building lineups and playing around with it. Have some fun. Take advantage of that promo code CYCLE, $1 for our MLB packages to open up the season. And now we will close this out by answering any remaining questions that we have in Discord. And we have here M Grizzly. Anybody on boosting for tonight? Nah, not for me. My lineups have so many backloaded guys that I'm going to have plenty of flexibility to make any swaps based on starting lineups or additional guys that get ruled out. King Yusuf wants to know how we feel about the Brooklyn guys. Anybody we really like? I have a moderate amount of interest in D'Angelo Russell, but nobody I really like from the Nets. And I think based on what Matt said before, it's the same sentiments for him. Bando says, if Lillard is out, who'd be the best pivot in the late games at any position? All right. So assuming you already had Dame in your lineup, who would you change to instead? I guess DeRozan or Giddey. Giddey if he's in, or DeRozan, they're similarly priced. There just aren't that many guys in that price range, especially considering the time slot. 28 says, do we like Wilson now that he's starting? No, it doesn't really move the needle for me in any kind of way. For yourself, Matt?
No, not on this slate. Maybe on some other slates, but not this one.
All right. And then M. Grizzly wants to know how much Markieff Morris is too much Markieff Morris. It really depends on if he starts or not. I have a good chunk of exposure to a Markieff Morris right now. He's in 2/3 of my lineups. It's because he's min price. We're expecting him to start. In the event that he comes off the bench, like I'm sure I'll still get some exposure to Markieff Morris, but the 2/3 that I have him, it probably goes down to like 15%. So totally depends on if he starts or not. Matt, what would you be doing with Markieff Morris if he comes off the bench?
Not playing him. I'm not sure if there's a chance they could start two guys that are only center eligible. So, like, I don't know if they would be in play, but Marcus Morris looks so good because forward is never great outside of the spend up options. And he's been productive in spots like this. It's certainly the last time out he was. So if he's coming off the bench, I'm not playing him. I don't think he's the worst play in the world, though, just because he's 3K, but he'll be way over-owned is my issue.
And finally, our last question before we wrap up the show here. Einsteinium wants to know. We're really going to go out with we got a super chat as well. So we've got Einsteinium wants to know any post love tonight. Quinn Post is way too thin of a play for me on this slate.
I will say the tools like him. So, like, I was surprised by it. I'm not playing him, but the tools like him more than I thought they would. So I'll just leave that there.
And then Nate. I saw Nate who tweeted at us last night, says, thanks again for the advice. Turn $12 into $1,000. I believe that it's the same tweet that I had earlier today. So assume that it is. Nate did say it was the biggest one he's ever had playing DFS. So shout out to Nate. Turned $12 into $1,000 last night. Love to see when you guys win. Don't forget, play with the Stokastic avatar, because when you do have a win like that and you're using our avatar and you tweeted us, you get into the Stokastic Hall of Fame. You get stuff like free subs. If you have a really big win, you get a ring sent to you courtesy of Lawful. He puts all that stuff together. So make sure you're playing with the Stokastic avatar. Other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And while we're not going to be doing a post-lock show, the screen will be playing the games. You guys could hang out and chat amongst yourselves. So here is the link over to Playback that I am spamming the YouTube chat with. So guys, go ahead and join Playback if you want to watch the games and hang out in there. Other than that, have a great night. See you guys back here tomorrow. Peace out.